the first harmonica band to go on the air, organized in Junior High School number 61, New York City. Harmonica bands are being organized throughout the country as a result of the successful venture undertaken at this school. Executives of the National Association of Broadcasters and their convention at the Hotel Commodore, New York, are examining the results of a test of the size of a listening audience at WJAZ. 4,284 paid telegrams, averaging 75 cents each in cost, were received in 4 hours. It is estimated that only 1 person in 100 would be willing to spend this amount, and that therefore the number of listeners in on that night may fairly be estimated at 400,000. Radio reports of the Yale-Princeton game being received at Hoboken, New Jersey on the football field of Stevens Institute of Technology. R.W. Gast has the receivers on, and T.J. Caulfield is telling the stands how the Bulldogs' fangs are sinking deeper in the neck of the tiger. President Coolidge reading his annual message to Congress. The 2 microphones on his reading desk actuated 6 broadcasting stations. Radio Broadcast Laboratory, Garden City, Long Island, where 2 super heterodynes and a 6-stage tuned radio frequency receiver occupied the attention of, left to right, George J. Eltz Jr., George Toohill, A.J. Haynes, Paul F. Godley, C.L. Farrand, and the editor of this magazine. At Radio Central, New York, W.A. Winterbottom, traffic manager of the Radio Corporation, looking over the tape used on the Wheatstone transmitter and sending messages to England directly from the Radio Broadcast Laboratory, notifying the British broadcasters of their success in reaching America. Miss Catherine Moore, the first girl radio fan to report picking up the now famous Hello America in radio broadcast transatlantic tests. A beautiful receiver in a beautiful room. It is a 3-tube set with a loudspeaker built in beneath the tuning panel. The A and B batteries are enclosed in the panels at either side. This set is made by the Colin B. Kennedy Company. The operating room at WOS, Jefferson City, Missouri. At the desk is J.M. Witten, announcer and program director. Behind him is R.J. Engler, chief engineer of the station. Radio on wheels. Here is a 6-tube Murad radio frequency receiver, with the loop inside the door under the handle. The loudspeaker operates behind the cane front. When a station has been tuned in, the leaves can be folded and all apparatus concealed. C.J. Waldron is receiving the noontime signals from station WGY and tolling the village bell which broadcasts the correct time to farmers in Medusa, Albany County, New York. Agnes Leonard. With her ukulele and her charming voice, she sings the youngsters to sleep on Friday evenings from WJZ, New York. Dorothy Gish bidding farewell to movie fans who are also radio fans, just before leaving for Italy to start work on a new picture. Paris horrors lose nothing through the microphone. The Grand Guignol Players, on their tour of this continent, stopped off at station CKAC, Montreal, and gave one of their most blood-curdling offerings, Une nuit au bouge, a night in a den. The old Liberty Bell and the new microphone, together at Independence Hall, Philadelphia. Harry T. Baxter, chief of Philadelphia City Property, is reading the history of the famous bell, which listeners heard last New Year's Eve. A class in the University of the Air, in the Junior High School 61, New York City. The assorted students are listening to a special lesson in music being broadcast from the Metropolitan Opera House, New York. Mr. Donald G. Stevens' shop in Washington, D.C. where the simplicity, neatness, and attractive appearance of modern receiving sets are made evident to the uninitiated. Most people stop, and many go inside. At 12:40 p.m. on Thursday, December 6, 1923, the president's voice as he delivered his annual message to the Congress was heard not only by the Congress, but by all who could listen in on any one of 6 stations: WCAP, WEAF, WJAR, WDAF, KSD, and WFAA. People from Maine to Texas heard the speech so clearly that the president's New England inflection was easily noticeable. 2 microphones may be seen in front of the president's manuscript. The amplifying panel located in the basement of the Capitol. The microphone control operator in the balcony of the House. Hoxie Neal Fairchild, supervisor of home study courses at Columbia University, whose first radio lectures on Robert Browning were favorably received. Plotting a ship's position. The compass bearings of a given ship, reported to the Central Station in New York by several radio compass stations, are indicated by lines drawn from the receiving stations on a map. The ship's position is the point at which the lines cross. A radio compass receiving station at Sandy Hook, New Jersey. The operator is shown turning the wheel which adjusts the position of the big loop aerial. This station is connected by land wire to the control station. 250,000 letters are in these bulging mailbags and the wire cage. During the 12 days of the listener's vote contest recently held in Chicago, stations WJAZ, KYW, and WDAP received letters from every state in the Union, Alaska, Canada, Mexico, Cuba, Bermuda, and Central America, each bringing its suggestion of what the radio programs should be. Grand Opera in the Meadows. This car of Lloyd's Sunday News, equipped with a receiver and loudspeaker, brings the concerts of the British Broadcasting Company to those who would not otherwise hear them. Radiograms to and from England went through him in the recent transatlantic broadcasting tests. He is Mr. H.E. Fulton, operating at Radio Central, Broad Street, New York. The buzzer fastened on the telephone instrument was used in communicating with the radio broadcast receiving station at Garden City, New York. 15 months ago, this room contained nothing more technical than a 1/4 kilowatt sewing machine. Here is the compact and well-built Radiola 4. This is a 3-tube set, and it adds to, instead of detracts from, the appearance of any room. This fits on any library table or on the crude boards of a camper's lean-to. It is a DeForest D10 4-tube reflex set, using dry cell tubes. Here is an upright type of receiver, looking suspiciously like a phonograph. It uses an outdoor or open antenna. A Zenith Brunswick model which would grace any regal tiring room. You know, the place where the king could put his feet on the table. All trace of radio apparatus has been cleverly concealed. Mr. H.P. Davis, Vice President of the Westinghouse Company, before the microphone at KDKA where he sent New Year greetings to England at 7 p.m. on December 31st, 1923. It was just midnight in England. And Captain E.P. Eckersley, chief engineer of the British Broadcasting Company, with a wave meter and long wavelength pipe testing their radiated wave. 2LO was one of the stations to rebroadcast KDKA's shortwave program. This antenna radiates on 94 meters and is only 35 feet long. Note that the spreaders are tightly fixed to the masts in order to prevent any swinging of the wires and consequent slight variation in the radiated wave. This is the antenna used in sending to England and to KFKX, the repeater broadcasting station at Hastings, Nebraska. 100 feet below the Hudson, in the New Jersey-New York Vehicle Tunnel, radio engineers and members of the Tunnel Commission received broadcasting from Pittsburgh on the loop and 6-tube set shown in the photograph. These experimenters were 500 miles by air from Pittsburgh, down 100 feet in the water, and behind 30 feet of mud and steel encasing the tunnel. Radio may be used as a safety communication in future tunnels. Following an airmail plane by radio, Superintendent D.B. Collier of the Western Airmail Division of the Post Office Department is tracing on the map the course of Jack Knight's mail plane from Omaha to North Platte. The pilot reported into Omaha every 15 minutes by radio. Mr. J.V. McGee, Special Assistant to the Postmaster General, is leaning over the map. Amateur Station 6AWT, San Francisco, with the owner and operator, Bartholomew Molinari, at the key of his 250-watt tube set. Molinari has exchanged radio messages direct with WNP, the Bowden, which is now frozen in off Greenland on its slow way to the North Pole. The Christus of the Passion Play broadcasts from his room at the Waldorf Astoria through WJZ. Anton Lang is almost the only member of the Oberammergau Passion Players who can speak English. Thomas A. Cowan is the announcer, and H.V. Higgs is the operator at the speech amplifier panel. Metal Mike in the Colster radio compass aboard the SS Maui on the San Francisco-Hawaii run. Metal Mike is the affectionate nautical term for the Sperry gyroscope steering device. V. Ford Greaves is at the right, operating the Colster radio compass and position finder. Elmer Sperry Jr., who was recently drowned in the English Channel, is demonstrating his steering device to Captain Peter Johnson, Commodore of the Matson Navigation Company fleet. Radio station JAA was the only link Japan had with the outside world. This antenna, strung on 660-foot masts with 500 kilowatts behind it, saved unnumbered Japanese and foreign lives in the recent Great Earthquake. Landlines and cables alike failed, while radio carried on. The naval radio station at Port Arguello, California, near which 6 American destroyers went on the rocks in heavy weather last year. It was from the radio compass station here that the disputed bearings were asked for and received.